Ethan Cole had spent 12 years repairing machines that sensible people preferred to replace, which was how he eventually found himself standing beneath the floating towers of the Asterian royal palace, with a toolbox in one hand, and a security drone scanning his face from 3 centimeters away. "Please stop moving," the drone said. "I'm not moving. Your eyebrows are moving. That's called being nervous. Unnecessary biological activity detected." Ethan stared at it. "You and I are going to get along beautifully." The drone rotated once, apparently offended, then projected a green symbol onto his jacket and allowed him through the gate. The palace had summoned him because an ancient transportation system buried beneath the royal complex had stopped functioning centuries ago. That alone was strange. Stranger still was the fact that dozens of imperial engineers had examined the machine without understanding how it worked. The strangest part was that Queen Lyssara herself had requested a human mechanic. Ethan followed 2 royal guards through several corridors until the doors ahead opened silently. Queen Lyssara was already waiting. She looked almost entirely human at first glance. Tall, composed, with pale skin, golden hair, and calm gray-blue eyes that seemed to examine everything twice before deciding whether it deserved attention. Only her long, elegant ears marked her clearly as Asterian. Thin silver ornaments curved around them, each carrying tiny points of light that shifted whenever she moved. Ethan bowed, too deeply. His toolbox slipped from his hand. It hit the floor. The sound echoed through the chamber. One guard closed his eyes. Ethan slowly straightened. "I usually make a better first impression." Lyssara looked at the toolbox. Was that part of the human greeting? No. A pity, it was memorable. That was the first thing Ethan noticed about her. She did not speak like someone accustomed to hearing only rehearsed answers. There was amusement behind her voice. She turned and began walking. "Come. I want you to see the problem before my engineers explain why it is impossible." That sounds encouraging. They have explained it to me 17 times. And it remains broken. Ethan followed her into a restricted section of the palace. The deeper they traveled, the less modern everything became. Smooth metallic walls gave way to black crystal veined with faint golden light. Automated doors disappeared. Some passages opened only after Lyssara placed her hand against symbols carved directly into the walls. Eventually, they reached a circular shaft descending far beneath the palace. At its center stood the elevator. Ethan stopped. Calling it an elevator seemed almost insulting. There were no cables, no rails, no visible motor. A circular platform floated several centimeters above the floor while 6 enormous rings surrounded it vertically, each ring covered with symbols that seemed to shift when Ethan looked away. He walked around it slowly. "You're sure this thing is supposed to move people?" "That is what the archives say. And nobody has used it for how long?" 712 years. Ethan looked at her. "You couldn't just use stairs." "We have stairs." "Excellent, mystery solved." Lyssara smiled. "Our problem is that we do not know where this elevator leads." That stopped him. "You repaired an unknown ancient machine without knowing the destination." "We attempted to repair it." That distinction is suddenly very important. Ethan crouched beside the platform and opened his diagnostic scanner. The device immediately flashed red, unknown energy structure. He tried another setting. Unknown material, another scan failure. Ethan frowned. Very helpful. Lyssara leaned slightly closer. "What does it say?" "That my expensive scanner has decided to retire." For the next hour, Ethan ignored the growing audience of royal engineers and examined every visible component by hand. The machine made less sense the longer he studied it. There were energy conduits, but no central power source. Control surfaces, but no physical interface. A gravitational stabilizer that appeared to be inactive, yet the platform continued floating. Then he noticed dust gathered along one section of the outer ring. Dust meant nobody had touched it recently. He wiped the surface clean. A symbol appeared beneath his fingers. The elevator hummed. Everyone froze. Ethan slowly pulled his hand away. The symbol remained glowing. Lyssara stepped closer. "What did you do?" "I cleaned it." One engineer whispered, "Impossible." Ethan glanced at him. "You people really like that word." The 6 rings began rotating. Light traveled through the floor. Somewhere deep inside the palace, enormous mechanisms awakened with a vibration Ethan felt through his boots. Then came a sound, a pleasant chime, almost cheerful. After 7 centuries of silence, the elevator doors slid open. Ethan stared into the empty platform. Queen Lyssara stared beside him. Neither moved. Finally, Ethan cleared his throat. "Well." Lyssara folded her arms. "You repaired it." "I touched it. Should I revise your payment accordingly?" "Absolutely not." No one volunteered to enter the elevator. Ethan noticed that immediately. The royal engineers who had spent years insisting the machine could never function suddenly became deeply interested in standing very far away from it. One of them actually took 2 careful steps backward while pretending to check a wrist display. Ethan looked at Queen Lyssara. "You have very loyal people. They are excellent engineers. They are hiding behind each other. They are excellent engineers with survival instincts." The elevator remained open. Its interior contained no buttons, no control panel, and nothing resembling a destination selector. Only a narrow strip of pale light ran around the platform while the 6 outer rings rotated in complete silence. Ethan leaned closer. Nothing exploded. He considered that encouraging. Lyssara stepped beside him. "Can you determine where it goes?" "Eventually." "How?" "I was hoping the machine would answer that before you asked." A faint tone sounded. Symbols appeared in the air above the platform. Everyone fell silent again. The holographic characters were ancient Asterian, but even Lyssara seemed unable to read most of them. "Royal dialect," she murmured, "older than the current language. Can you understand any of it?" "A little." "What does it say?" She narrowed her eyes, recognizing bloodline. Ethan immediately looked at her. "That sounds like your problem." Then another symbol appeared. Lyssara's expression changed. "What?" "It says secondary authorization accepted." "Whose authorization?" The Queen slowly turned toward him. Ethan pointed at himself. "No." The machine chimed. "Yes," Lyssara said, "that is deeply inconvenient." She stepped onto the platform. The royal guards instantly moved forward. "Your Majesty." Lyssara raised one hand. "If the machine required my death, our ancestors designed an unnecessarily elaborate method." Ethan remained outside. She looked at him. "Well, I'm thinking. You repaired it." "I accidentally cleaned it." "Your confidence is inspiring." "My confidence is based on a long professional tradition of not entering unidentified ancient transportation devices." The elevator emitted another tone. A line of light extended from the platform to Ethan's boots. One of the engineers whispered, "It is requesting him." Ethan stared at the light. "I preferred it when machines couldn't have opinions." He stepped inside. The doors closed instantly. Several guards shouted from the other side. Ethan turned. "That seems bad." Lyssara remained remarkably calm. "You wanted to know where it goes. I also want to know what happens tomorrow. I don't usually solve that by climbing into suspicious machinery." The rings accelerated. There was no sensation of movement, no pressure, no vibration, nothing. Then the walls became transparent. For a fraction of a second, Ethan saw the palace from an impossible perspective. Dozens of hidden shafts intersected through the building like veins of light. Platforms moved through walls without touching them. Entire corridors existed between known floors. Some extended downward far beyond the palace foundations. Then everything vanished. The elevator stopped. The doors opened. Ethan stepped forward automatically. Then stopped so suddenly Lyssara nearly walked into him. A bed stood directly ahead. Not a guest bed, not a medical bed, a royal bed. Ethan's eyes moved slowly across the room. Clothing, personal terminals. A half-finished book floating above a reading table. A ceremonial crown resting carelessly beside what appeared to be a cup of tea. He looked at Lyssara. She looked at him. Neither spoke. Finally, Ethan said, "I assume this is not a public transportation hub." Lyssara's long ears had gone slightly red. "No." "Excellent." One wall display activated and recognized her immediately. "Welcome, Queen Lyssara." Ethan closed his eyes. Of course. Behind them, the elevator doors closed. Lyssara turned sharply. "Open." Nothing happened. She touched the wall, still nothing. Ethan tried not to smile. "Are we trapped in your bedroom?" "I strongly suggest you phrase that differently." "I'm trying." She walked toward the hidden doorway where the elevator had appeared. The section of wall around it looked ancient, much older than the rest of the chamber. That caught Ethan's attention. He crouched beside the frame. "These materials don't match your room." The bedroom was renovated several times. "No, I mean the room doesn't match this." He ran his fingers along the edge. A thin pulse of golden light moved beneath the surface. Lyssara went still. "What is that?" "I don't know yet." "Your favorite sentence." "It keeps being accurate." He pressed gently against one panel. Nothing happened. Lyssara placed her hand beside his. The wall immediately responded. Symbols appeared between their fingers. 2 authorization signatures, one royal, one external. The floor vibrated. A section of the bedroom wall slid backward. Lyssara stared. She had lived in these chambers for years. She knew every entrance, every security system, every hidden emergency passage. Or she thought she did. A narrow corridor now extended beyond the wall into complete darkness. Cold air moved through it. Ethan slowly stood. "That," he said, "was definitely not caused by cleaning." Lyssara did not answer. A soft light appeared inside the passage, then another, then another. They illuminated themselves one by one, stretching deeper into the palace. At the far end, something enormous powered on. A low mechanical heartbeat began echoing through the walls. Lyssara looked toward the darkness. For the first time since Ethan had met her, the queen looked genuinely unsettled. "This passage," she said quietly, "does not exist." Ethan stood at the entrance of the hidden corridor and waited for Queen Lyssara to move first. She did not. After several seconds she looked at him. "You are the mechanic. You are the queen. That does not make me immune to ancient traps. It does make your funeral significantly more expensive." Her eyes narrowed. Was that humor? Defensive humor. Humanity appears to rely on it heavily, mostly when doors appear inside bedrooms. Lyssara glanced back toward the sealed elevator. "Fair." She stepped into the passage. Ethan followed. The lights continued activating ahead of them without any visible power source. Each one brightened only when they approached, then dimmed behind them. Ethan tried his scanner again. The device displayed a rapidly changing sequence of warnings. Gravitational anomaly, NONLOCAL energy field, unknown particle activity, temporal offset, 0.3 seconds. Ethan stopped walking. Lyssara turned. "What is wrong?" "My scanner is finally being useful." "That sounds positive." "It says part of this corridor is 3 milliseconds ahead of us." She stared at him. "Is that dangerous?" "I have no idea." "Wonderful." They continued. After nearly 50 meters, the corridor widened into a junction with 5 separate passages. No maps, no labels, no visible controls. Ethan folded his arms. "Did your ancestors dislike signs?" "My ancestors apparently disliked visitors." A small metallic object suddenly dropped from the ceiling. Ethan jumped backward. Lyssara drew a compact energy weapon from beneath her robe. The object unfolded. 2 tiny mechanical arms emerged, then brushes. It floated toward Ethan. He raised both hands. "Easy." The machine stopped in front of his chest. A beam scanned him from head to toe. Then it spoke. "Maintenance personnel detected." Ethan blinked. Lyssara lowered her weapon slightly. The machine rotated toward her. "Royal occupant detected." A pause. "Unauthorized dust level detected." A brush extended and wiped Lyssara's shoulder. Ethan bit the inside of his cheek. The Queen stared at the machine. It cleaned the other shoulder. Ethan failed. He laughed. Lyssara slowly looked at him. If you repeat this story, I would never. You are smiling. I'm preserving a historical moment. The maintenance drone floated away. One of the 5 passages illuminated. They followed it. The deeper they moved, the more impossible the palace became. They passed a chamber where thousands of transparent spheres hung suspended in midair, each containing shifting patterns of stars. Another room held a wall of liquid metal that responded to Lyssara's presence by forming the faces of previous monarchs. None spoke, they only watched. Lyssara became quieter. Ethan noticed. You recognize them. Some. She approached one face. My grandmother. The liquid shifted. Another woman appeared. My great-grandmother. Then another. Lyssara stepped back. This archive contains queens whose records were lost centuries ago. Then someone wanted them remembered here. The next door opened before they touched it. Inside stood a circular chamber. At its center was a crystalline chair surrounded by inactive holographic projectors. Lyssara entered first. The moment her foot crossed the threshold, every projector ignited. A woman appeared above the chair. She looked human at first glance, just as Lyssara did, but her long ears were larger and more sharply angled. Her hair was bound behind her head, and the symbol above her brow belonged to the oldest royal dynasty. Lyssara stopped breathing for a moment. Ethan whispered, You know her. Everyone knows her. The hologram turned its head, not toward Lyssara, toward Ethan. That surprised both of them. Then it spoke. I am Elendris, first queen of the United Asterian Worlds. Lyssara lowered her head instinctively. Ethan hesitated, then did the same. The recording continued. If this message has awakened, the palace has forgotten its true architecture. A star map appeared above them. The palace unfolded within it in layers, hundreds of hidden corridors, transit shafts, underground shelters, orbital escape routes, rooms inside rooms. The building they thought they knew was only the surface. Ethan stared upward. You hid an entire second palace inside the first. The hologram continued. This network was built after the Night of 7 Knives, when assassins reached the royal family through every known entrance. Lyssara's expression hardened. Ethan had heard of that event. Most historians considered it partially mythical. The hologram raised one hand. The map changed. The hidden passages were not designed for secrecy alone. They were built to ensure that no queen, no child, no heir could ever again be cornered. A second symbol appeared beside the royal crest. Ethan recognized it, the same symbol that had activated beneath his hand. Lyssara saw it too. Elendris continued. The network requires 2 forms of authority, royal blood, and an external mind not bound to the throne. Ethan pointed at himself. Please don't say me. The hologram turned toward him again. External guardian confirmed. Ethan closed his eyes. Lyssara almost smiled. You were saying. I'm beginning to regret fixing elevators professionally. The star map contracted. Only one location remained dark. A chamber far below the palace. Even Elendris's projection seemed to hesitate before speaking again. There is one sanctuary that must remain sealed unless the royal line faces extinction. The floor beneath them vibrated. The dark chamber on the map turned red. Ethan's humor disappeared. Lyssara stepped closer to the projection. Why? The hologram answered. Because what sleeps there was never built to protect only the throne. A warning tone sounded, then another. The hidden network began powering on across the entire palace, and somewhere far below them, something opened. The warning tone followed Ethan and Lyssara all the way back into the corridor. It did not grow louder. That somehow made it worse. A calm female voice repeated the same message every 30 seconds. Sanctuary access sequence initiated. Ethan checked his scanner again. Still ahead of us by 3 milliseconds. Yes, that corridor is becoming annoyingly successful. Lyssara ignored the joke this time. The map left by Queen Lyssara had transferred itself into a small holographic projection above Lyssara's wrist. One route glowed through the hidden palace. It led downward, very far downward. They followed it through passages that became progressively older. Modern alloys disappeared. The walls changed to dense black crystal containing slow-moving threads of golden energy. Ethan placed one hand against the surface. The scanner immediately displayed another warning, quantum lattice. Lyssara looked at him, meaning your ancestors built walls that can store information at the particle level. Can you repair them? I'd prefer not to insult them by trying. The route ended at an enormous circular door. There were no locks, only two depressions in the surface, one shaped for an Asterian hand, the other shaped for a human hand. Ethan stared at it for several seconds. That seemed suspiciously specific. Lyssara stepped closer. Humans had no contact with Asteria when this was built. Exactly. They both looked at the human-shaped imprint. Ethan pressed his palm against it. Nothing happened. Lyssara placed hers into the other. The entire door became transparent. Stars appeared behind it, not projected stars, real ones. Ethan instinctively stepped back. The door was no longer showing the wall behind it. It was showing space. A distant blue star rotated slowly beyond a field of darkness. "What am I looking at?" Lyssara whispered. "Not this system." Then gravity disappeared. Ethan's boots lifted from the floor. Lyssara grabbed his arm before he could rotate upside down. "This is why I prefer engines," he muttered. A field activated around them. Gravity returned. The door opened. Beyond it waited a chamber filled with thousands of floating geometric structures. Some were the size of fists. Others were large enough to contain buildings. Each rotated around a sphere of white energy suspended at the center of the room. Ethan's scanner went completely black. He tapped it. Nothing. He tapped it again. Lyssara raised an eyebrow. "Technical method. Advanced human calibration. You hit it with professional confidence." They entered. The structures shifted away from them automatically. A bridge formed beneath their feet. The central sphere expanded. A holographic map of the galaxy unfolded across the chamber. Thousands of points began glowing. Lyssara walked toward the nearest one. "What are these?" Ethan studied the energy signatures. "They're connected." "To what?" "Each other." That was not helpful. "Welcome to engineering." One point expanded, a planet appeared, then another. Then dozens. Each contained underground facilities identical to the chamber around them. Ethan finally understood. This isn't one sanctuary. The system responded to his voice. "Correct." Lyssara turned sharply. A new hologram appeared, Queen Lyssara again, but this recording was different, older, tired, more serious. The royal network was never intended solely for the royal family. Images appeared around her, cities burning, planets under bombardment, civilian ships fleeing orbital battles. This system was created during the first expansion wars. I watched entire populations vanish because evacuation ships could not arrive quickly enough. The map changed. Lines of folded space connected world after world. We built a network capable of moving living beings between sanctuaries without crossing conventional space. Ethan stared at the galaxy. Instant evacuation. Near instant, the hologram corrected. He looked at Lyssara. "I like her." Lyssara almost smiled. Lyssara continued. "Every node can move thousands. Together they can move billions." The scale of it finally settled over the room. Lyssara stepped closer to the projection. "Why hide this?" The answer came immediately. Because anything capable of saving a civilization is equally capable of bypassing every border, fortress, prison, and defensive fleet in the galaxy. Ethan's expression changed. An army could enter a sanctuary on one world and emerge behind enemy defenses on another. No ships, no warning, no blockade. Lyssara whispered, "This could end every war." Ethan shook his head. "Or start the last one." The hologram looked toward both of them. For that reason, the network requires two guardians, one from the throne, one from outside it. Neither may control the system alone. Ethan slowly looked at Lyssara. So your ancestor invented two-person authorization. She appears to have invented paranoia professionally. I respect that. The chamber suddenly darkened. Red symbols appeared across the galaxy map. 1, then 5, then 20. Ethan stepped toward the nearest display. What happened? Lyssara read the ancient text. Her face went pale. Activation signals. To where? Outside the palace. The map zoomed outward. Several distant systems had received a pulse the moment they entered the sanctuary. Ethan felt his stomach tighten. Someone is listening. The system confirmed it. External recognition detected. A second message appeared. Unidentified vessels approaching Asterian space. Lyssara straightened immediately. The uncertain woman vanished. The queen returned. How long? Estimated arrival 3 hours 41 minutes. Ethan exhaled. Well. Lyssara looked at him. That sounded like one of your bad jokes. No. He stared at the red points approaching their world. That was me wishing I had won. By the time Ethan and Lyssara returned to the active palace levels, the atmosphere had changed completely. Royal guards filled the corridors. Security drones moved in tight formations overhead. Every public holographic display showed the same warning. Unidentified vessels were approaching Asterian territory under silent drive. Ethan checked the countdown on his wrist display. 3 hours and 12 minutes. Plenty of time, he said. Lyssara looked at him. For what? To panic efficiently. She almost smiled, but the expression disappeared as the command chamber doors opened. Inside, admirals, ministers, scientists, and intelligence officers were already arguing. Half wanted the hidden network sealed permanently. The other half wanted it activated as a weapon before the approaching fleet could strike first. Ethan listened for less than a minute before leaning toward Lyssara. Your government seems calm. They are terrified. That explains the shouting. One admiral turned toward the queen. Your Majesty, if the enemy knows the network exists, we must use it before they do. To do what? Lyssara asked. Deploy soldiers directly aboard their vessels. Ethan's expression hardened. That was exactly what Queen Lyssara had feared. The system designed to evacuate civilians could become the perfect invasion mechanism within minutes. Lyssara rejected the proposal immediately. No. The admiral stepped forward. If we do nothing, we are not doing nothing. She looked at Ethan. He understood before she spoke. Can you hide it? Maybe. The room went silent. Ethan walked to the central tactical display. The activation pulse came from the sanctuary. Whoever detected it probably knows a powerful system woke up, but not what it is. An intelligence officer frowned. They will search the palace. Exactly. He expanded the map of the hidden levels. So we give them something to find. Lyssara's eyes narrowed with interest. What? Ethan smiled. An elevator. For the next 2 hours, the palace became the strangest repair project Ethan had ever supervised. He intentionally reactivated dozens of harmless sections of the ancient transport network. Old lifts began moving again. Forgotten libraries opened. Maintenance tunnels lit up. Storage chambers sealed for centuries suddenly unlocked. The palace flooded with visible evidence of ancient technology, enough to convince any spy that the mystery had already been discovered. Meanwhile, Ethan and Lyssara returned secretly to the sanctuary. The real problem remained the control core. It could not simply be destroyed. Destroying it would collapse several quantum links and potentially tear open unstable folds in space. Ethan stared at the floating sphere of white energy. So we can't switch it off. No, Lyssara said, can't destroy it. No, can't move it conventionally. No, he sighed. This machine has a difficult personality. A maintenance drone floated nearby. Statement inaccurate. Machine has no personality. Ethan looked at it. Nobody asked you. Correcting maintenance personnel is mandatory. Lyssara laughed despite the situation. Then Ethan noticed something. The sanctuary nodes were not physically connected. Their positions were anchored through quantum coordinates, which meant the control core did not need to move through space. Its address could move instead. He spent the next 40 minutes rewriting a routing sequence using both modern human diagnostic logic and ancient Asterian command symbols. Lyssara watched the calculations. You are changing where the chamber believes it exists. Exactly. That sounds illegal. On Earth, probably. Here, give me 10 minutes. The core flickered, then vanished. Not exploded, not deactivated, gone. The sanctuary remained functional, but its master control had shifted into a hidden subspace node impossible to detect without both guardians. Lyssara stared at the empty center of the chamber. You moved it. I changed its address. To where? Ethan checked the display, then frowned. What? He zoomed in. The coordinates resolved. He started laughing. Lyssara stepped closer. Ethan, you are not going to like this. Where is it? He turned the display toward her. The control core had relocated into an abandoned royal service section. Specifically, an ancient laundry chamber. Lyssara stared at him. You hid the most dangerous transportation system in the galaxy behind a laundry facility. I didn't choose it. You programmed it. I gave it safe parameters. You chose badly. I chose securely. Before she could answer, the palace alarms changed. The enemy fleet had entered orbit. Minutes later, infiltrators breached one of the restored ancient access points exactly as Ethan predicted. Security feeds showed them moving quickly through the palace's hidden passages. They followed false energy signatures, opened sealed doors, bypassed obsolete defenses. Finally, they reached what their scanners identified as the highest concentration of ancient power. The doors opened. Inside waited rows of dormant fabric processors. One infiltrator raised his weapon. Another scanned the room. Silence. Then an ancient machine activated. Royal garment detected. A mechanical arm grabbed the infiltrator's cloak. He shouted. The machine pulled him forward. Another device unfolded. Wrinkle correction initiated. Ethan watched the security feed. Lyssara covered her mouth. The infiltrator fought desperately as the machine pressed his cloak perfectly flat while he was still wearing it. Another spy opened a cabinet. Hundreds of folded ceremonial towels fell on top of him. Ethan finally lost control. They invaded the palace and found laundry. Lyssara was laughing now too. Your strategy is humiliating them. That part is free. Royal guards sealed the corridors seconds later. The infiltrators were captured without reaching the sanctuary. Then the enemy fleet began withdrawing, not because they had discovered the truth, because they believed the ancient system was nothing more than a restored royal transport network. The deception had worked. For now. Lyssara looked at Ethan. You realize history may remember this as the laundry defense. I've had worse job titles. The palace alarms finally fell silent. But deep inside the hidden network, one small light continued blinking. A signal had been sent before the infiltrators were captured. Someone, somewhere, had received it. The blinking signal remained active for 11 minutes. No one in the command chamber spoke while Ethan traced it through the sanctuary's residual quantum channels. The transmission had been narrow, encrypted, and deliberately disguised inside the palace's own maintenance traffic. Lyssara stood beside him. Can you identify the recipient? Not directly. Meaning whoever designed this was very good. She looked at him. Better than you? Ethan paused. Let's not damage morale. A few exhausted officers laughed. That helped. Barely. He reconstructed the signal backward instead of trying to follow it outward. The infiltrators had not transmitted the location of the sanctuary. They had transmitted only one sentence in an old military cipher. Network confirmed active. Lyssara read it twice. They know something exists. That may be enough. Ethan nodded. That was the part nobody wanted to say aloud. The secret could never become completely secret again. Someone outside Asterian space now knew the first Queen's network had awakened. Destroying it would remove the danger, but also erase the greatest evacuation system ever built. Using it openly would trigger panic, competition, and probably war. Ethan stared at the rotating galactic map. Then he finally understood what Elendris had actually intended. Not a hidden weapon, not even a hidden escape route. A responsibility shared by people who could stop each other. He looked at Lyssara. What if we don't hide the existence of the network? Several ministers immediately objected. Lyssara raised one hand. The room quieted. Ethan continued. We hide what it can really do. Lyssara watched him carefully. Explain. We announced that restoration work uncovered an ancient civilian emergency transit system. Limited range, restricted capacity. Useful for palace evacuation and disaster relief. One admiral frowned. That is a lie, a controlled truth. Lyssara's eyebrow rose. That sounds suspiciously diplomatic for a mechanic. I've had a difficult week. He expanded the map. The real network stays dormant. Every long-range node remains locked behind dual authorization. No military command gets independent access. No queen gets independent access. No mechanic gets independent access. He pointed to himself. That last part feels especially wise. This time even Lyssara laughed. The proposal changed everything. Instead of burying the discovery again, Lyssara addressed the Empire publicly the following day. She revealed that ancient transportation infrastructure had been discovered beneath the palace and would be restored for emergency civilian use. She said nothing about instant interstellar transfer, nothing about billions of possible evacuees, nothing about hidden sanctuaries across the galaxy. The approaching fleet, now identified as belonging to a rival intelligence coalition, accepted the explanation publicly, because admitting they had infiltrated the palace would have started the very conflict they were trying to avoid. Privately, they sent one final message. We will be watching. Ethan read it, then typed a reply. Please watch the elevators. They are temperamental. Lyssara stared at the screen. You did not send that. The terminal chimed. Message delivered. She closed her eyes. You sent that. They threatened us first. Weeks passed. The palace changed. The ancient elevators began operating again under strict control. Forgotten libraries reopened. Old observatories came alive. Children visited restored gardens that had been hidden between palace levels for centuries. The public believed Queen Lyssara had recovered a remarkable piece of Asterian history. Only a tiny circle knew the truth. Ethan remained among them. He had originally intended to return home as soon as the repair contract ended. Instead, Lyssara summoned him to the same chamber where they had first met. This time his toolbox stayed firmly in his hand. I have created a new position, she said. That sounds dangerous. Royal Guardian of Ancient Systems. That sounds more dangerous. You would oversee restoration, security, and maintenance of the hidden network. Ethan considered it. Months earlier, he would have seen only the machine, a difficult mechanism, an interesting problem, something broken that needed fixing. Now he understood that some machines carried history inside them. Some technologies were not puzzles to solve, but choices to protect. He had arrived believing that anything broken could be repaired if someone understood it well enough. He was leaving the experience with a harder lesson. Sometimes the real question was whether something should be used after it was repaired. He nodded. I'll accept. Lyssara smiled. Good, with conditions. Her smile disappeared. Of course. No ceremonial uniform. Negotiable. No 20-hour council meetings. Impossible. And nobody calls me Guardian Cole. What should they call you? Ethan. Lyssara considered that. Fine. A familiar chime sounded behind them. Both slowly turned. The first lift had opened. Ethan looked at Lyssara. Where does it go now? She checked the control display, then went completely still. Ethan immediately became suspicious. Where? Lyssara looked toward him with visible amusement. My bedroom. He stared at the elevator, then at her. 700 years in interstellar sanctuary, 3 assassination protocols, 1 invasion, and we still haven't fixed that. You are the mechanic. Ethan picked up his toolbox. Not anymore. You literally accepted the position 30 seconds ago. Administrative role. Ethan. He stepped into the elevator. Lyssara followed. The doors closed. For 1 second, neither said anything. Then Ethan touched the wall. Take us somewhere else. The elevator chimed. Destination updated. The platform moved. Lyssara looked genuinely surprised. You finally learned how to control it. Ethan smiled. No, the doors opened. Beyond them waited another hidden corridor neither had ever seen. A small maintenance drone floated past. It scanned Ethan. Unauthorized beard length detected. Ethan sighed. Lyssara began laughing. The drone turned toward her. Royal laughter, volume excessive. She laughed harder. Ethan stepped into the unexplored passage. Above them, deep inside the awakened palace, thousands of forgotten systems continued returning quietly to life. The greatest secret of the empire remained protected, not by walls, not by armies, but by two people who had learned that trust was stronger when neither